stress isn't necessarily a bad thing, but how can we actually use stress for growth?
When you change the way you perceive a situation, it can actually transform negative stress into positive stress.
If you have too much stress, of course, you're going to burn out. You're going to get tired. You're going to get overwhelmed.
The period in which you were most effective in your whole life, there was likely some level of stress.
How does a person balance between actually getting a healthy amount of stress, which is good for us, for growth?
Beautiful question. Stress in manageable doses can actually enhance your performance because it allows you to actually focus more and have more energy. When you look at it, the period in which you were most effective in your whole life, there was likely some level of stress. Stress helps you focus and it helps you gain more energy. It's about finding the right balance between like eustress and distress, which is positive stress versus what? Negative stress.
Okay, so like literally all we're talking about here is being able to use your stress in the positive way and reducing kind of the negative effects that comes with stress naturally. What are some techniques that we can use then to do that?
So one effective technique is actually stress inoculation. It's gradually exposing yourself to manageable stress to build resilience. Again, this isn't in the gym. A lot of times it's physical exercises, challenging projects, or even like, for example, for some people it could be public speaking. It depends, but it's how you want it to be is like finding a way in which you can actually do something that is slightly above your level of ability, your level of skill, so it keeps you engaged. But again, you're training the mind to what become better. Like for example, like I've said it a million times, I think all entrepreneurs should do some form of combat sport. Not to be a professional, etc., but because it pushes them, it trains them in terms of their stress levels, etc., and their focus abilities. Like I can promise you, because in the gym, do you think about anything else? When we're in the gym with the coach, do you think about any other problem in your life, any business, nothing? Why? Because there's a level of stress that is where you need to focus. You're more thinking about your survival, does that make sense? But it got to a stage where if it's a workout you believe is, I can't do that, then it's like, nah, I'm not bothering. So you want to keep it to a healthy balance where it's above your ability and you want to jump between the two. So if you have a high stress workout, again, let it follow light workouts as well. Does that make sense? Because again, rest and recovery, which is important, right? Mentally and physically.
You get used to these things, and we've talked about before the amygdala and how kind of it creates neuroplasticity in the brain. So
Perfect, beautiful point. I actually want to talk about the amygdala versus the prefrontal cortex, right? These are two part of the brains. Now, prefrontal cortex, referred to as the PFC, is responsible for everything logic, making logical decisions, things done in a smart way, effective way, focus, energy, all of that is prefrontal cortex, right? Your amygdala is like your sort of like emotional side of the brain. The idea here is we want to train our prefrontal cortex to always be in control and our amygdala as little as possible. For example, if there's a lion, you're likely not going to think with logic, emotional response. It's very quick, it's very impulsive, right? Whereas the prefrontal cortex, it's more thought out. Now, here's a perfect example. There's two kinds of people in the gym. You can see the guy who actually works with his amygdala versus the guy who works with his prefrontal cortex. The guy who works with his prefrontal cortex, he sees that something is difficult, like an exercise is difficult. He acknowledges it's difficult. He takes time, and again, mindfulness, etc., is going to train you to be able to do this. He acknowledges like, yeah, this is hard. He keeps going. Whereas you see the guy, for example, who has his amygdala, it's like he does one, he's like, whoa, no. Stress is taking over. It's just, no, I'm not doing it. I can't. No. That's too much. The one who is more controlled, he uses his prefrontal cortex. He's like, it's painful. It's supposed to be painful. That's fine. When your prefrontal cortex is at the head, it's like, it's normal. There's going to be challenges in business. It's part of the game. Let's keep going. Let's find the solution. Whereas the amygdala, you see them, I can't. I don't think business is for me. And again, you see the same thing, no matter what example, when Allah tests somebody in his life, what does the guy with the amygdala? Yes, this is the dunya. We're going to be tested. Sorry, with the prefrontal cortex and the control, we're going to be tested. It's particularly normal.
And even now that you mentioned even the Quran, the story of Musa alayhi salam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought him through a lot of different tests. And in the end, he told him that all of the tests that you were put through, all of the pressures that you were put through was to prepare you for that final mission that you were going to go for, which was to go to Fir'aun and to Banu Israel and the trials and tribulations that they were
And when you see it in that way, like we mentioned, your cortisol is much more reduced. And the hormone responsible for what? Actually growing your brain is produced a lot more.
And another example is just in terms of business as well. I meet a lot of business owners and they become very stressed when it comes to, like, for example, hiring and firing, especially when it's like there's an issue in the team and it's an uncomfortable discussion that they have to have, or even in families, like, I just can't do it. Like, and he knows that there's no other way other than to have the conversation. Or if it's a business partner, well, I need to have this discussion with my business partner, but I'm just scared. I just can't do it. One of the clients, he had a very bad relationship with his family. I was like, well, you're just going to have to, first of all, apologize, because first of all, those are your parents. He's like, oh, I haven't spoken to them in years and I don't know what they're going to say and this and this and this and that. But he knew that there was no other option other than for him as the son to go to his mom and apologize. And subhanAllah, after that day, he was like, wallahi, it wasn't even as bad as I thought. And more, he was now starting to open up the door for other more difficult conversations with other people in his family, in his business. This person was extremely scared to do anything of that nature a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. But he started to actually physically train his brain to being able to accept these more stressful conditions.
And this is the importance of cognitive reframing, right? When you change the way you perceive a situation, it can actually transform negative stress into positive stress. We said you can't grow from negative stress, but if you change the way you perceive it, it actually changes it in your mind as well. So, for example, if I view like, I don't know why I'm in the gym and I'm just getting hurt and nah, this is not good, versus, nah, this is good, my muscles are growing, this is good for me, I'm gonna grow. It becomes positive stress rather than negative stress, right? So when you implement these changes, you can actually create a robust system for managing stress, turning it into a tool for what? For personal and professional growth. And if you look at it again, physical health is completely intertwined with stress management. People who are physically unhealthy, they will succumb a lot more to stress. So regular exercise, good food, balanced diet, adequate sleep, all these things contribute to your body's ability to be able to handle stress, right? Because nothing is off balance here. So if you're actually serious about fixing your energy, focus, or productivity, and you need a system that actually works, aligned by Quran and Sunnah, right? Then that's exactly what we do inside the Live by Design, right? We build you custom science-backed performance systems so you can actually operate at the highest level consistently, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So imagine you wake up every day feeling fresh, energized, right? Ready to tackle your biggest challenge, clarity and purpose. And I actually asked entrepreneurs this. I said, I want you to remember a period in where you were most focused, you were executing at 100%. Imagine we could replicate that every single day. That's what we seek to do with the Live by Design framework, right? So don't leave all of those outdated habits, all right? Those biological misalignments that hold you back, all this rubbish advice on the internet that is slowly killing you and sending you to the hospital. Forget all of them, and it's time to actually take a step to develop and design your life around your biology rather than against it, right? The choice is simple. Keep fighting your biology and stay stuck, or align with it and start dominating every area of your life. It's literally one of the two.
And I want people to realize with Live by Design, it's not just a program, it's not just a course. You're gonna get a mentor, a partner that he's got hundreds of clients that he's done this with. He's dedicated basically his time to observing you, the way you live your life, the way your deep workflows, your sleeping, all sorts of optimization, looking at your business, looking at your relationships, looking at your sleep schedules, your nutrition, your everything. It's holistic. You literally have to take in everything into consideration, because if you start to talk about, for example, what productivity and I'm doing this and this and that, let me use this tactic or Pomodoro or this, it doesn't work, because you're not taking all the other things into consideration. How many decisions have you made throughout the day? How much stress you have from your team? Your company is stressing you out. You've gotten, all these different tasks are being put onto you that shouldn't even be for you. If you don't take all these things into consideration, you just really can't function as a high performance individual. So if you're ready to change yourself, then sign up for the Live by Design framework. Assalamu alaikum.